If you look at what we do in terms of recruiting somebody and what other companies do, typically a company will bring somebody in as a new advisor and they'll put them in their entry-level position, and we do the same. And we started doing it more now through using e-relationship in terms of determining how strong their natural market is. We did put an emphasis on it because we have these orphans, which is great, right? But most companies, and if anybody's been in another company, the first thing that they look at is the strength of that natural market list. Why? Because that's where the business is going to come from. So if they're looking to hire somebody, typically they will hire people that have access to markets and a stronger natural market list. The problem is, if you're doing younger people, it's harder to get a stronger one. Career changes are a little bit different, maybe they're more mature, but it's still an issue of what it is that we face. So if we look at the recruiting lifespan, right, of a new advisor, this is typically the lifespan of a new advisor. And one of the reasons that there is such a big turnover in our industry is because people run out of time. And if companies are putting an emphasis really on their natural market, you guys have seen me do the levels of relationship, right? Everybody has 3 different levels of relationship. A level 1 is somebody you could call and didn't matter what it was doing, they'd say, yeah, get the pizza, I'll bring the beer, right? Level 2 is a 50% chance they may say no. Level 3 is a 75% chance they may say no. So our job is to move the level 3s to a level 2 and the level 2s to a level 1. That today is prospecting. There's no simpler way to do it. The reason there's a fallout here, most companies do, is after 9 months, they'll bring somebody in, and it's impossible for a person to have hundreds of level 1 relationships. Could you imagine having 100 level 1 relationships? Your phone would never start. You wouldn't want them because it'd be like, it'd blow your mind. Typically, people have between 15 and 30 level 1 relationships. So if you look at the span of an advisor around here, typically what happens is, not just here, but every other firm, is the reason they quit after 9 months is what? They run out of level 1s. Because all the emphasis is really put on those people that they know well enough to go out and do the business with. They have a spike in their business, and then all of a sudden it goes down and they run out of level 1s. This is what we call their natural market. The natural market should always keep somebody at a level of production, and what we have to do as coaches is really keep and find what that level of production is going to be. So in our world, what we should be as as coaches is a natural market, whoever it is, whether it's a career changer or a college kid or whoever is new coming into the business, should always produce a certain level of income. Now, when I started in the business, I knew 12 people in the state of New Jersey. My natural market didn't produce shit. It was horrible. But the more I stayed in the business, the more time I was in life, and the more my finances got better, and the more money I was making, I moved to affluent communities. I rubbed elbows with people that are making millions and millions of dollars a year. So you have a natural market that is now, but you also have a future natural market, which possibly is going to create 3 times X. If it's a younger guy, it's a good story to tell, right? Because they're already thinking that natural market is not up to speed. So these are all the natural markets of what it is that we can do. Our jobs as coaches is not to let this happen here, but to expand their natural market wherever they are in their career to always produce a level of income. And if it's a lower one, let's say that level is $45,000 of production. A college kid, Rich, coming into the business from their natural market should be able to produce the $45,000 of income from their natural market. Is it 150? No, but it's 45, right? The other thing that people do, other companies, is we talk about it here, and we talk about what we call target markets. Target markets or affinity markets are what we talk about through Wellman, and these, Linda, are really designed to take our income and where we go through to probably 4 or 5 times X after a certain amount of time. The problem with the target markets is they take time, and typically we say we take 18 to 24 months for the completed product to working in teams, being the person inside of that market. But we've already said most people fail after out of 9 months because they run out of level 1 connections to see. So our job in the target market as a coach is to coach them to have more activity outside of their natural market and outside of what it is they're doing, ultimately to get to a position where it's going to produce the income that they want to make. Because I got to tell you something, people don't get in this business to make $65,000. Linda, it's a crap $60,000 a year job, isn't it? But it's an awesome $250,000 a year job.
Yes.
Think about the independence, the impact, and the income that you can make through doing a good job of what it is that we can do. So this is typically outside of what it is that we do. So here's what Pru has as well. Pru has these leads, right? We call them the orphan leads. Oops, sorry. And this is a great presentation too, by the way, for recruiting when you're talking to people. And I'll talk people through this as well. So what Pru does is we have the thing we do through e-relationships, and we work on our natural market, but we also have something that we give out, and we give out leads. We're the only company in the industry that has the quantity to be able to provide quality. Your success rate at the beginning of the year is through one formula. It's quantity times quality is going to equal your success rate. So we have enough quantity to be able to give out that is going to give a certain level of production. So I always talk about it and say, hey, Linda, yeah, we don't have this salary, but we have access and resources to millions of household relationships that Prudential already has that we give out to our advisors, and this produces X. Anybody have an idea what an average agent makes based on the leads that we give them?
Average?
Yeah.
45.
I say we've got a range, 45 to 60,000. Most of our people that work our leads that we give them will make anywhere between 45, if they worked it the right way, will make anywhere between $45,000 and $65,000 based on what it is that they do. And I tell that story. What is it that we do? Now, I also say, here's the problem that we have. We have so many of these things that our current agents, they rely solely on these things, and their income stagnates at being an average agent of $45,000. It's a mistake. So where we need to be as coaches is, we need to be coaching through the target markets, we need to be coaching on our natural markets, and we need to be coaching on our leads. So in the PEPs and what it is that we created for the coaching, it all starts with our business plan. And in the business plan, this is what we need to be looking at. It needs to be more than once a year, and we have a quarterly plan. Because a quarterly plan, David, will let us readjust, either catch up or get ahead of the game and do more than we originally planned for. So in a quarterly plan, we've got to talk about what's our GGR commitment for the quarter. So I'll take an annual plan with somebody and I'll say, okay, if we wanted to produce $100,000 of GDR and we straight lined that kind of talk to where it would be, and we got 4 quarters, that would be $25,000 a quarter. Now Q1, if that's the case, we're going to shoot our commitment for Q1 is going to be $25,000 a quarter. But what happens in Q2 if we only did 15? We've got to catch up.
Right.
But now when we do planning per quarter, we can add in where our catch-up is going to be coming. So I want commitments of GDR per quarter. I also want GDR per market. And out of this plan on the business toolkits, there's sections, and I kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, butchered it up to kind of how I wanted it to look. And instead of using number 1 for other things, I use it to say, okay, this is our natural market.
Right.
Right? Number 2 is going to be our enterprise market. Number 3 is going to be our lifestyle market. And number 4 is going to be our orphan leads. So automatically what we did is we gave people 4 fishing holes.
Yep.
And what we did is we put them in a class that's Wildman to be able to understand what the key actions and tactics are to execute in those fishing holes and create activity in what it is that we do. Within that quarterly plan, we also want to create the SMART goals. So it's really simple. The beauty of a good plan is the simplicity of the plan. So, as an example, as we create the Q3 plans as we're going to be going through, for Q3 2018, I will produce no less than 25,000 GDR. That's my production goal for my quarter. Then I want it broken down specifically by market. By enterprise markets, you'll produce no less than 10,000 GDR.
What's an enterprise market?
Businesses.
Just want to make sure.
So whatever it is, it could be 0, but you're still going to have what it is, actions and tactics as you go through it. And then I want to know what those key actions and tactics are. And we get those through going through Wildman. And everybody that's coming out creating the plan now have now set through Wildman where they should know the actions and tactics. And this is a kind of A to Z process of building a market, identifying a market, and what you need to do to build the market and get the growth inside of it. So we talk about that, and we need to know it to coach through it to create the key actions and tactics. So if somebody's coming into an enterprise market for me and say, okay, my enterprise market is dentists, and I want to create $10,000 of GDR, well, the question becomes is how we're going to do that. And then it becomes what are our key actions and tactics to do that. So every week we're going to, first thing is we're going to upload our database into ClientLink. We've got 500 dentists. Second thing is we're going to segment that database, and we're going to work on the 500 down to a manageable chunk of 50 a week. The first tactic of those 50 a week is we're going to send them a mailer. The next week we're going to send the next 50 a mailer. The first week get another thing. You see me kind of write out the plan as it goes along. These become the actions and tactics of what it is that we do. Prudential has all this great marketing stuff, right? As you go through it, they have thousands and thousands of pieces of marketing that people can use. Give me 1 second.
One of the things that I wanted to mention too is while you're bringing that up is that your advisors have gone through this, not your experienced people. That's something you want to do with them too. But your advisors have gone through this, and then we had them start to present their plans. But because they haven't worked directly with all of you, they really weren't prepared. They need your help. They need our help with you, so that it actually becomes a plan, which he'll get to on how he works with his advisors doing that. Otherwise, there's this gap still, where they're just sort of like, and they're not good enough at this to really figure it out themselves.
So you got to help them create the plan and what those key actions and tactics are that go into it. And this is really designed, guys, to give them activity outside of just what it is that they're doing. And in this case, it's the orphans. You can't expect them to grow their brand and reputation within the space of a month and they deliver results, but it's not designed to do that. It's designed to give them activity, right? And the key actions and tactics of what it is that we do and what we talk about is nothing more than to rewire somebody's brain. Mm-hmm. Because if we're talking about somebody in a dental market, if we talk about core reluctance on a scale, I can't even do it again, it's gone again, on a scale of 1 to 10, and we have somebody who's an awesome cold caller, and will pick up the phone, has no core reluctance, and will talk to anybody and make 1,000 dials a day. That guy has no core reluctance. It doesn't matter. In today's day and age, they are very few and far between. Right? Right or wrong?
Right.
And if you look at the other end of the spectrum, if you look at a 10, that's the guy we see that's scared out of their body or could never even think about picking up the phone and talking to somebody about doing business and coming and showing what it is that we do. So if you look at the spectrum of core reluctance, our jobs as coaches is we got to find out what level our agents are at. Because if we find out what level our agents are at, Maddie, that becomes the actions and tactics that we need to do. If I've got somebody who's a level 3, which is low on the core reluctance, maybe just sending 50 pieces a mail out a week and then having the phone call is enough for them to be comfortable to pick up the phone and ask for an appointment. If I've got somebody on a 6 or a 7 on the core reluctance spectrum, maybe the 2 is not enough, and then we've got to do another 2 or 3 steps in between. But that ultimately dictates what your key actions and tactics are, and it's a way of getting somebody comfortable to make the dials and increase their dials and increase their activity as it goes through what it is that we do. Hoping that in 18 to 24 months we have a finished product and we're recruiting to it and we have a selling team and we build our brand and reputation. But I know this, we're not doing anything, and I know this, that the production that we're getting is not enough from just the orphans, because if it was, we wouldn't be sitting here. There's no way we'd be having this conversation, and I wouldn't be in this job at Prudential, because Prudential would figure it out and they have all these things and just give them to them and off you go. There'd be no need for me, no need for Jeff, no need for any of us in this room. Right. So we got to change the way they're thinking to be able to not just get away from the orphan, but put it to them like I drew on the graph here, to be able to say, hey, this is our baseline. We're able to give you enough quantity that's going to equal your quality to give you a baseline income to ultimately, Rich, that's going to give you time, because you're not at Mass Mutual. They're not going to provide anything for you when you run out of level 1 people. It's going to give you time to build your practice. It's going to give you time to build your target markets, and it's going to give you time to stay in the business. And this is a great recruiting talk to have to people as well. It's about the time of what it is that we can do. So the first thing I do with my peps is I really look at that plan. So I have them bring that plan in with me. with them. I want them to bring it in because I want to create. I don't want it just sitting in a drawer for the whole quarter. I want it to come to life, and I want it to be available to what it is that we talk